There's some of you.
Maybe. Coke bear. Cocaine bear.
Oh, yeah.
I'm drinking water.
I'm bringing up better balance. Has a rubber up the one.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, September the 21st, 2021. The time is now 6 p.m. Regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Trinidad will now come to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Barrett, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Barrett? Would you
I
please?
pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a roll call, please.
Sabona,
Here.
Sheriff,
Here.
Griego, Ogletree,
Here.
Shu,
Here.
Williamson,
Here.
Rico.
Here. Ms. Grego is out tonight. She cannot be with us. She had a doctor's medical appointment. Just for information. Item 2, approval of the agenda. Council have any changes to the agenda? Call for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Call vote, please.
Sabona,
Yes.
Sheriff,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 3, policy items and staff reports. Mr. Valentine, anything to report?
Mayor Sky would like to report on the survey he has. It's on our website and
So yeah, we have a survey that we put out to the community. It's online, it's through SurveyMonkey. It's on neighborhood values and land use values. And it's going to be used to kickstart the city's initiative to reform the zoning code to enable or facilitate the production of more housing and affordable housing. Today, the first round of those surveys also went out in the utility bills for those who get that by mail. So people receiving utility bills will get those in the mail. I've had over 170 responses so far, and that's even before sending it out in the mail. So I think we're doing fairly well in getting some input, and that input will be, I think, very interesting and informative to you guys, to council, as you consider what changes are appropriate and popular.
Any questions from council on the survey, Mr. DuBon?
No, he just left his studio up there at the radio station, so
Okay.
he had a pretty good interview.
Ogletree?
Okay, Sky, is there any way you can determine whether or not the person who's responding is from Trinidad or from another place?
So one of the questions asks which neighborhood you're from, and since our neighborhoods don't all have good, recognizable, acknowledged names, I made a map with numbers on it. And one of the options is outside of Trinidad, but within Las Animas County, and one is outside of Las Animas County.
Okay.
Makes sense.
That was my question too.
Any questions?
The survey that's going on to SurveyMonkey, is it the same survey that was on Facebook?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's the only survey right now.
What's that?
I think it's the only one that's out there right now.
And who created the survey?
I did.
It just seems to me that the survey is maybe intentionally or unintentionally directing people in a certain path. I mean, it doesn't seem to me to be, it seems biased to me. I was wondering if maybe the question should be reformulated to be in a more unbiased format. That's my opinion. And I've heard that from several constituents as well.
All right. Well, the questions are targeted at a couple different types of potential ways that our code or any code could be reformed in order to facilitate housing. And so the barriers that exist within our code or that are potential barriers in any code are limited to a couple specific areas. So the questions are really targeted at those feelings on those things, which is lot sizes, setbacks, parking, use restrictions or limits on use, and density. So it's really different ways of looking at those areas. If you see a particular bias, maybe we can look at that. I mean, we've already gotten over 170 responses, so to change it now would also make it challenging to interpret the results if the wording changes sort of midstream.
Do you mind, I don't mean to interrupt, giving us an example of like a biased question? I don't mean to drag this out, it's curious to me, and I don't doubt for a second that
I'll go refer to it again though, and I can provide that for the sake of being succinct and accurate. I'll refer back to that. I guess I had one following question, and I should probably know this. Is there going to be a public comment too? I mean, will we have that?
Yeah, so I set those up. There's 3 public meetings at the end of October that are just going to be more listening sessions than anything, but it'll be an opportunity for people to ask questions or give feedback. Yeah, and I put them in different parts of town. One is on a Saturday for people who work during the week, one's in the morning, and one's in the evening.
Because I want to say up front, the belief of bias would be strongly influenced by a person's personal set of beliefs. So it may not be that case, but it'd be evident in public discussion. That's why I asked.
Yeah. And I think the purpose of a land use code is to represent a community's values. And so those, objectively, what you're allowed to do on your land is pretty meaningless until you have a community with values and an idea of what they would like the community to look like, and then all of a sudden those, what it is we're regulating takes meaning from those values.
So why don't you two get together and kind of go over,
Okay.
see what you can see as any differences or issues, and we can kind of get some clarity.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Goodall?
I have nothing.
Okay, the question I had was the same thing as Ms. Ogletree bring ahead, so thank you for that. Thank you for that. And I know that surveys are always interpreted in different ways, so it'd be interesting to see what the results come up as. And I would add that any changes to the code will go through the process of public hearings, planning commissions, city council, so this is just a kicking off to try and get, as a city, we've heard everybody complain about our codes, but we're trying to work through solutions, so. Okay. And, for anyone could have a particular issue of their own, of what they're looking at. So you can always create an issue, so as far as that goes. The best thing to do is look at a survey like this to see what comes out of it. Okay. Okay, petitions or communications, oral or written, do we have anything? In the meantime, while you're doing that, I'm going to read a letter here. Just received this information, I'm not sure if council saw this yesterday or not. And we got this from DOLA. It says, Dear Honorable Rico, congratulations to the city on supporting the Fox Theater. We are thrilled to announce the award of $250,000 for facade and energy improvements to the storefront of the theater. I believe this is another step for Trinidad to bring this historic building back to life. And just, if we have any questions, to contact Lady. Just wanted to let council know that we got another $250,000 from DOLA for the Fox Theater. Anything out there?
No, sir.
Nobody signed up?
I don't know if there's anybody,
Anybody online that would like to speak? Okay. Item 5, consent agenda. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of September the 7th, 2021, and special meeting minutes of September the 13th, 2021. I do have one minor typo. It showed in there that I had talked to K-Van, but it was not K-Van, it was Cato. And I don't know, do you spell his name C-A-T-O or K-A-T-O? K-A-T-O, so if we would just change that to Cato, not K-Van. Item B, approval of the special event permit fermented malt beverage application filed by Kiwanis Club of Trinidad Foundation for October the 16th, 2021 at 206 North Animas Street. Mr. Mangino, are you with us tonight? Doesn't look like.
Who?
Mr. Mangino?
Oh.
And that was for a wedding, evidently, that's planned. John Pierce also submitted a letter from the parish that it is okay, so. Item C, approval of special event permit fermented malt beverage. Application filed by Trinidad Los Angeles County Chamber of Commerce for October 1, 2, and 3 at 201 West Main Street. Ms. Barron, you're here tonight representing the event. Thank you very much. Item D, new fermented malt beverage liquor application filed by Family Dollar Stores of Colorado LLC, doing business as Family Dollar 22942 at 2102 Freedom Road. Set for public hearing to 6 p.m. on Wednesday, November the 3rd, 2021. And the tentative neighborhood boundary as the corporate city limits. And do we have a representative from Family Dollar with us tonight?
Yes, virtually. My name is Brandon Sandberg. I'm an attorney with Dill, Carr, Stonebreaker, and Hutchings. My attorney registration number is 42507. It's nice to meet you all, and thank you for having me.
Okay, like I said, we'll bring you on if you're available on the on November the 3rd. On November the 3rd.
Yes, I will be there as well as a representative from the applicant. Yes.
Thank you very much. Item E, reappointment of Frank Leone Jr. and Christopher Spain to the Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission. Mr. Leone's here. I don't believe...
Mr. Spain is on.
I think he's on.
I see him
Mr. Spain,
flashing.
are you on?
There he is.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item F, approval of bills
Got a secretary.
for $2,190,922.07. Item G, approval of payroll September the 18th, 2021 through October the 1st, 2021. And that is for $417,010.85. Entertain a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second, okay. Call a vote.
Sedona,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
yes,
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 6, public hearings, we have none. Item 7, unfinished business, we have none. Item 8, miscellaneous business. 8A, letter supporting application of the Colorado Creative Industries for a Colorado Community Revitalization Grant for the completion of the East Street School Cultural Center. Do I have a motion, please?
Are we gonna have a discussion?
Yes, we will. Need to entertain a motion?
so moved.
Second? Second?
What's the second for?
A letter entertaining an application for the Colorado Creative Industries for a Colorado Community Revitalization Grant for the completion of the East Street School
Sorry, I
Cultural
lost my
Center.
train of thought. Second.
Okay, discussion. Mr. DeBona,
I have nothing.
Ms. Ogletree.
I had a couple things on this. I just want to make sure that we're aware that when these grants come before the advisory council, they're going to look at them and make decisions, the people who are actually vetting the grants and the applications are looking at geographic equity in their evaluation. And so just something for us to be aware of, because our Space to Create project may be coming before that council at the same time this project comes before that council. And it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, I think that's a discussion that we've been brought up before.
Yeah, if I may.
Sure,
may I?
please.
Sure. So there's been several iterations that we would have to prioritize our projects. In talking with our DOLA rep, she mentioned that has kind of changed, and she suggested that we write letters of support that say these meet the goals of Trinidad, and that's kind of how this letter is spelled out. The projects that have went through first a pre-app and now an application. Our Space to Create project has done the pre-app and application, and we had another discussion with our DOLA rep today, who's going back to the committee with more information. Not sure if they're the same time as this one, but our Commons is moving through the process as we speak. They didn't have a bunch of applications, so they canceled, postponed they have hearings every 2 weeks, I believe, and they postponed one because they didn't have enough applications.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so our Space to Create is in there. The East School is going through the process, and our letter of support basically states that it's in your packet. It meets the goals of our comprehensive plan and everything. We're not prioritizing in any way. If you remember, we initially thought the city council was going to have to prioritize who goes first in the, it was suggested we just state that it meets the goals of the city. So, and it does in our comprehensive plan. Also, same grant process we will be putting in for the Fox Theater for a revitalization grant. That'll come before council either at a special meeting before the work session or the following meeting with the resolution.
Do we know how much the East Street School is going to request for that grant?
I do not have those numbers, no.
Also, you mentioned that there weren't enough applications. Was that the number of applications across the state?
Actually, I guess maybe I misspoke. There was a bunch of applications up front, and then they kind of are trying to review, because these are shovel-ready projects that they want the money spent as quickly as possible. So they had a little bit of a lull in applicants. So they didn't have the review process every 2 weeks.
Okay. So it could be that they'll
Yeah.
still have more applications. Okay.
And this is the $65 million that was approved by the legislature, and they're doing this in like 3 different batches, so 20 million, 20, and then remainder. Yeah. Hope that helped.
Yeah, I just thought it was something we should be aware of.
Sure.
Yeah, I was kind of a little bit with Ms. Ogletree, but are we putting in for any other grants other than what we have with the Fox?
We have the Space to Create Commons.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That were
I forgot about that.
for this grant.
Right.
There's a lot of grant opportunities out there, and we're working through them all. Right.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Williamson?
I have no further questions.
Widow?
Do we still have a grant writer, or are we looking for another one?
We're in the process. We're in the middle of budget. We're kind of trying to formulate a plan. We need another grant writer on board. We had Talitha part-time. We're looking at maybe, because of everything that's going on, whether we could fit full-time into the budget. So,
All right.
yes.
That's all I had.
I think the other thing about that $65 million that's out there, if they don't get enough, because like I know that they said that we may only be able to apply for maybe 2 or 3 of the grant applications, but if there are not enough grant applications across the state, they might be able to allow a community for an extra one, I guess, or so. I think that was kind of the information that I remember hearing about, so. But we'll have to wait until they go through all of the 3 time periods of applications. Okay. Any other questions from council? Call vote, please.
Bono,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. Item 9, council reports. Mr. DeBono.
I don't have anything from the Los Animas County Veterans Council, but I interviewed Rusty today. He came up, he's a volunteer with the Bicentennial Santa Fe Trail festivities and committee and celebration. It's going to happen starting Monday, right, Rusty?
I believe so.
Yes, and also interviewed Sky, came up a couple hours ago, talked a little bit about housing, and some of the issues, and the survey that was just submitted. That's it.
I don't have any of our board commission reports, but I did go to my first advisory council for Colorado Creative Industries, and there's good news that Articade was awarded a Colorado Creates grant of $6,500, and there was another round of that will come up in the spring, so any kind of arts, creative projects that people are interested, they should get those to the state through the CCI website. And then I learned more about the Colorado Arts Relief Grant, which is $15.5 million that's been approved by the legislature. That is to help businesses, nonprofit and profit, and artists and individuals who have been affected by COVID. And I got to learn that things like our books and more would be eligible because literary arts are one of the things that grant is supposed to help with. So I just want to encourage people, the deadline is November 2nd for those grants, and they're anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 for individuals, and depending on the cash operating expenses of the organization or business, it's $10,000 to $200,000. So those are really helpful, and people should know about.
I just kind of wanted to ask you, Aaron, the board that you're on with the arts deal, is that a state board, statewide?
Yes.
And how many members are on that? I mean, I'm just kind of curious.
There are 10 people appointed from across the state and 1 chairman.
Do they have their own funding, or do they have to go through grants and stuff?
It's not a paid kind of thing.
No, I meant for, not pay for you guys, but for,
Yes.
yeah, for money for arts and stuff like that.
Yes.
Do they have their own budget every year and stuff?
Yes, they do. Usually it's about $2 million for all of Colorado Creative Industries, and last year, because of the Senate bill that appropriated $65 million for the revitalization grants and then more money for arts relief, it's about $80 million that division of OEDIT oversees.
No, I was just kind of curious.
Sure.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, I have no questions.
Mr. Williamson.
I just had I have 2 boards coming up, boards coming up, so I'll have a report from them forthcoming. And then the other thing that I was going to mention is what I already did, and those several constituents that approached me and were concerned about the general direction of the survey, but it sounds like we'll discuss that and have it handled. And I think it's important we have the public public comment session too. I think that would be helpful. So that's the only thing that I have.
Okay.
So I did have Parks and Rec meeting last night. It was pretty much just follow up on the pool and covering and different stuff like that. I looked everywhere for my notes, but will that be assigned a is it a job number? What's the first step? Marty was explaining that to me. Where does it start?
So,
And-
city council has directed those funds, if you remember, committed those
remember that.
funds is the name. So now it's, yes, assigning a project number, getting it in the queue, going through, feasibility, design, construction, so, yeah.
All right. We have an anticipate, they push on this because it was
Yeah.
top of surveys. Should I just tell them sometime early next year we'll assign the project number, or when does that look? And I
Yeah.
explained to them, we have so much going on, it's hard to keep adding it on to staff.
Exactly. And we also, we're in the budget process, and covered pool means more employees year-round.
Correct.
Which we're trying to formulate that as well. So, first of the year is when we'll get things rolling, I'm sure.
And then, as Councilman DeBono said, I did do the FYI today for the Santa Fe Trails 200th anniversary celebration. I have some printouts I'm going to get. If anyone's interested, I'll get them to you, Mike, or to Audra, and ask her to distribute them. It'll give the whole events if anyone's interested in getting that kind of stuff. I'll get all that sent off. I think we got it finalized from Comanche Indian chiefs to gunfighters to a few of us council members. I'm not sure who all will be arrested by Bat Masterson and thrown in jail and held for bail money to raise money for Kiwanis? It may have been Kiwanis. I can't remember. Pat's involved with that. But we'll have flint making, blacksmith, many events for the kids. I was so happy to see that. So that's all coming together and kicking off real soon. So excited to see everybody down there. Another great event happening in downtown Trinidad. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Valentine, I read the ARPA report that was in our year, and in July, they were under budget by 1.6 million. And from July, from 2020, under budget by $3.5 million. Did they raise any concerns with that, with going forward?
No, Mayor, but I was unable to attend the last meeting, so I will get a report back to you. We had a TPR meeting at the same time that this meeting was held, so I'll have to get back to you on that.
Just kind of wondering if there was any concern from the board on
You
that.
bet.
Okay, also I attended that non-proposition 119, which is the cannabis tax that their private industry is trying to put forth. And that's creating a lot of concern across the state with the cannabis industry, because it's going to raise the sales tax immediately if this passes by another, I think, 3%. And then another 1% after that, so it'll be a total of 19% instead of the 50. I think that's what it is, compared to the 19% that we have right now. The problem that we have,
I didn't mean to interrupt you, I just, a question. If they raise that up to 19%, right, on the sales tax, what would be what would we do with our sales tax for them business? Will we raise ours, or what would happen there?
no, we couldn't raise ours. Well, we'd have to raise ours because that would be that would be a state thing.
Okay. No, I was just kind of curious if they're getting that, we wouldn't be able to do anything with that, right?
And the concern is that right now with the New Mexico raising theirs,
Right.
they're going, right now we're at 15%. Initially, they're going to be at 12%, but they want to raise theirs incrementally starting in 2024, 25, like 1% until we reach 18%. So what that'll do is that'll put us at a great disadvantage. Because if you take a look at the 4%, the regular sales tax that is charged to the cannabis industry for regular sales tax, plus then the 5%, so we would lose about 9% possibly on a particular amount that we would lose. So it could be substantial, so that's the problem that I see that arises. And there's a lot of misinformation from what was reported during that meeting. I don't have all the information on it, but I think we send it out to all of council to read. There's an actual, not bill, but this, information that's going out for them to, you guys to make a decision on. But anyway, this is a real big concern as going forward. Also attended the Colorado Rail meeting last week with the President's infrastructure bill. If that happens to go through, like I mentioned in the past, the state of Colorado could receive up to $2.3 billion for rail, passenger rail. We also found out that Amtrak is regaining ridership after the partial shutdown last year, because remember they shut down to 2 or 3 times a week. But now they're beginning to pick up ridership.
Good.
So that's good. The 9/11 event that was a little over a week ago was a success. There were a lot of people, the firefighters, first responders there. That was very nice to be part of. We're also waiting for the CDPH rules for the new president's mandate. And I just wanted to mention a couple of things from that particular report. From Los Angeles County, there were, on September the 18th, there were 1,612 total cumulative cases, 71 active cases, 19 deaths due to COVID-19. In Los Angeles, it breaks down to the Alpha, 15, American Beta, there was 1, California, these are the variants by the way, California variant, there was 7, the Delta had 82, the Delta 2 had 3, and Delta 4 had 0. So it's very concerning with the amount of COVID-related cases that is hitting the county. So I think we all need to be concerned and do our part. I also want to bring up again, and I'm going to read this intro, so if you bear with me a little bit. I brought this up partially. I didn't get the information that I asked for from the Chronicle News, but the Trinidad Alliance misinformation. And it kind of irks me that they're putting this information out, because I believe that, one of those 3x5 or whatever article sizes costs over $100. If they were to take that money and use and give it to a nonprofit organization or the Senior Citizen Center, it would do more good than blasting the city of Trinidad and trying to make the city look bad. But on top of that, they don't even say anything about what we as the city council, what we're doing good things that we are doing. So I'm going to give you a couple of things that have come up. It says, this is the last one. Why is the city in even worse shape with ADA compliance than they were before attempt to appease? It's very aggravating, because as we all know, we have appropriated a lot of money over the last few years for ADA compliance, and we continue to work on ADA compliance. And that's, and then we have a couple of others. Why? How can Trinidad's tourism industry grow with no communication on lines from the city, which also allows the continued harassment of local businesses? I don't remember where we've ever gone out and harassed the business. I don't want to give this information. I think say this total misinformation. Item number 3. Why does the city of Trinidad continue to allow First Street look like the Santa Fe Trail? There again, they do not understand that when we did the construction on First Street, when they took up the bricks, a lot of the bricks deteriorated, they just fell apart. So now we have to go through the process, according to Mr. Valentine, that we have to find a brick maker to make new bricks. We don't know, I'm not sure what the cost of the bricks are going to be, but it's probably going to be pretty hefty. So we're going to have to go out and find someone to make the bricks, and then make the bricks, and then bring them and put them in place, because we have to stay in compliance with the Brick Street. I think that I forget what they call it, that we complied with back in the 70s?
In the 70s.
That we said that we have to maintain the brick streets as they are.
Yep, with History Colorado.
Next one. Why does the City of Trinidad Council allow one man to dictate city's future? You know, he's not dictating our future. It's just that we have to follow what the DOJ is telling us to do at this point in time. Next one, why does the City Council continue to have executive sessions when they affect Trinidad businesses? Where is the transparency? Everybody knows that whenever we have an executive session, I don't care if it's City Council, I don't care if it's planning and zoning, I don't care if it's any other board or commission, you have an executive session. There are particular reasons why we go into executive session. If there is something on the agenda that says I'm going to come out of executive session, make a decision, that is the only time that it'll come out as a decision was made. We do not make decisions inside of an executive session, and besides that, if you look back at our history, the number of executive sessions that we've had over the past year has been very, very few. And the reason for that is, when I became mayor, I read through all my information, and it said the fewer amount of executive sessions you have, the better off you are, because then it does not create the idea that we are doing things behind closed doors. So talk about transparency, like I said, we're transparent like what we're doing here today. Why doesn't the City of Trinidad have ADA guidelines for businesses to follow? First of all, if we were to put all of the information needed for the businesses to have, they would have a booklet. How many pages, Mike?
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't even answer that.
From the size of the door to how high the toilets have to be, to how the coat hangers, how high the coat hangers have to be, to how far apart from the wall or from the floor does the toilet tissue have to be. Those are all things that are incorporated in the ADA for compliance. So it's ridiculous for them to even come with that. That's why it's just such misinformation.
But Mr. Mayor, should be known that all of that information is available through the city anytime any business
Right.
wishes to get that information.
That's
We
true.
have it for them.
And says, why does the city management and council treat Trinidad electrical grid problems as a personnel issue? It's not a personnel issue, it's just that we do have problems with our electrical power lines. It's not our grid. We don't have a grid, we have a power line system. So that was brought to my attention a while back by Michelle Miles, is we don't have a grid. We have a power line system. We do have problems within the city as far as our power. And this is something that I think we're going to be looking at in the near future. So that's why I say this information that this organization put out, pardon the phrase, but it's a bunch of BS. And if they really want to know the truth, why don't they walk in that door like Mr. Miller did, and anybody else wants to walk in that door and ask questions. It angers me that these people don't have the guts to come in here and say, can you explain this to me? I might have something else here. Just wanted to congratulate the Arlocade Parade. It was a very good parade. There were quite a few new entries this year. It was kind of cool. There was some neat ones. Something, Mr. Valentine, I'm not sure if this is something that we could even do or not. About some of this misinformation that's out there, I don't know if you're cured or not, but is there any way that anybody in staff, or do we have a communication person that could maybe put out a bi-weekly information as to what the heck's going on in the city, what we're doing, the issues that we've encountered? I'm not sure if we can even take the time to do something like that or not.
Right, so we have our social media coordinator. She's 3 months into the job. We can do that. The misinformation, if they want to buy ads and do that, yeah, there's nothing we can do about that. And if people have questions, I have an open door policy. I'm busy. If I'm not there, please make an appointment. We can discuss whatever the issues you think you have. There are answers. Some you may not like because, our infrastructure is old. Council has made strides at putting money toward it, and we're working toward that. But we do have a social media coordinator, and we can start, putting information out there.
We can do it very periodically.
Sure.
We can talk about that. Why don't you go ahead and take it from there, Mr. Valentine?
I really don't have much, Mayor, other than to tag on to the no on Prop 119, the tax initiative that's going to add to marijuana sales tax. Like I said earlier, we're going through our budget process, and it's scary that on average, over the past 2 years, I think it is, almost 25% of our sales tax, not our marijuana tax, our sales tax, our 4% sales tax is tied to marijuana sales. So all the marijuana sales that we have, the 4%, which feeds our sales tax revenue in our general fund, is 25%. If you add to that, the gasoline, the restaurants, the lodging, and everything else that is related to that, we don't have a figure, but it could be upwards of 35% of our general fund sales tax is related to marijuana sales. So it's a scary situation if they pass this extra tax. Why would you come over the hill or do whatever into Trinidad? There's a whole industry of marijuana tourism. Why would you come here if you got to pay, 19% more? So with that, I just I want to let council know that we will be having a budget work session with council in October to meet our deadlines as spelled out in the charter. So
To tag on to what you just said, I did mention in that meeting that I understand that maybe the Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Denver, some of those other places that have marijuana sales, they may not get hurt, but all of the border towns, especially the ones across the southern end, and probably the west end, would probably be hurt the most, because we are border towns. So that would be a problem, so that I could see that. Sure, we understand that there's a lot of people that don't like the marijuana. It's a double-edged sword. It always has been, always will be. But anyway, it's something that I think like Mr. Valentine was talking about, the amount of sales tax revenue that we get from it, I think is, as we know, of what we've been able to do with those dollars. We've done a tremendous amount of work for the citizens of this community. Go ahead, Mr. Valentine.
that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr.
Mayor,
Jones.
thank you, Mayor, council members. I wanted to ask, to ride the wave of the two of you, I wanted to ask, first of all, the email you sent out recently, Mayor, from Sal Pace that was on Proposition 119, I mean, it may not have been from him. Did all of council get that, or was it only staff?
We got it.
You did, okay, so I just wanted to make sure. I know you referenced something earlier, but I don't think that was it. But I wanted to say a couple of things along those lines. One is, there are now a number of communities in the metro area that are now allowing, or are in the process of allowing, consumption clubs and also delivery, ever since the law changed. And I am not necessarily advocating for one side on that or the other, but it is good, I guess, to be mindful of the notion that we are so dependent upon that revenue, as unfortunate as some people may think that is. I think it is kind of to state the obvious that we are beholden to that money, and as many council members have said, it makes sense in a way to kind of really show, and I'm not saying this, but it's a position to show that we are dedicated to the marijuana industry. And in terms of not only opposing Proposition 119, which I think is going to be the collective sentiment, even though you don't have any official position as a majority of council, but not only in opposing that, but also in considering other things and expanding the current, kind of setting that Trinidad finds itself in. I mean, allowing other things potentially with respect to the.
And as I get more information on 119 from this group, I will pass it on to Mike so she can disseminate it for everyone.
Okay, and we had talked about the possibility of having that as a work session item, and I don't know if that's necessary. If people want to do that, if council members want to do that, but I'm not sure that's necessary. The only other thing I wanted to say, and this is on, Mayor, your comments regarding the ADA compliance, and you said it was our objective and it was necessary for us to ensure compliance with the DOJ and the DOJ directive. I just wanted to say, of course, the DOJ directive is requiring us to be in compliance with the ADA. So, and I know you were single out, but our overarching goal and what we are doing and what we want to do is to ensure compliance with the ADA. I just want to make that clarification. But with those things being said, I don't have anything else. Thank you. Unless there are any questions.
Anything else from council? On to item 11, executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and or instructing negotiators, getting fog underneath there.
Yeah.
Under CRS section 24-6-402 4E, real estate development. Motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Sedona,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Rico.
Yes. It's going to take about 5 minutes, that way you can,
Are you gonna come out and vote?
no, don't be nothing happen.
Okay.
You get to go home, Tom.
All right.
Yeah.